Eve Rifkah was co-founder of Poetry Oasis Incorporated, which lasted from 1998 to 2012, a nonprofit poetry association dedicated to education and promoting local poets. Founder and editor of Diner, a literary magazine with a 7-year run, she is the 2021 recipient of the Stanley Kunitz Award. She has run an ongoing writing workshop for 15 years and teaches workshops and classes at WISE. She lives in Worcester, Mass. with her husband, musician, artist, writer, Michael Milligan, and their cat. So thank you very much for coming. And I want to thank the library for holding this, and the Boylston Cultural Council for giving us the grant, and the Mass Cultural Council, which is the next step up. So thank you very much for coming. I'm so glad almost every chair is full.
Clackers and bells in medieval times announced the lepers. Sonorous sounds scream the coming of the lepers. In 1905, the children shout, throw stones, clackers and bells, frighten the outcast, the leper. The grocery boy drops parcels on stoop and runs. The fisherman dragged from home, named a leper. A pregnant woman cries for her babes, cast away to foster care, away from her, the leper. A Chinaman moved from his boiling vats north of Boston, sent to work in the colony, one more leper. With another from his land who left wife and child, now scrubbing linens, untouchable on the island of lepers. A sailor tried to escape, to travel the waves, bound for a home, detained with the rest of the lepers. Even God closed his eyes, called them unclean. But Eve tells their stories, the island-bound family of lepers. That's called Outcasts Guzzle, and I wrote it for the first 5 patients who were sent to the hospital when it opened November 18th, 1905. They were Frank Pina, Isabel Barrows, Yi Toy, Gunli Dip, and John Roderick. Okay, I'm going to start with some notes, just a very brief history of what was going on the island and why they have it and all that sort of thing. I'm definitely not reading all of these notes, I assure you. Okay, Penikese is the smallest of the 5 Elizabeth Islands, just south off the coast of Cape Cod. Massachusetts is in a constant state of erosion and consists now of something around 75 square acres. It is a mere 1/4 mile by a 1/2 mile in size. You know how tiny this island is, and I'll show you pictures. It was formed by the last of the Ice Age glaciers. It was a Laurentide glacier that came down that far. And it contains 5 kettle holes, which are now small brackish ponds and glacial erratic. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts purchased the island on July 18, 1905 for $25,000 under the state's right of eminent domain. Pressured for the need to have an isolated treatment center for lepers, since nobody wanted it in their backyard. And some people even thought Penikese was too close, even though you can't see it from Cape Cod. It's also called Penikese Island Hospital or Leprosarium, and it opened November in 2005. It operated until March of 1921. At that time, a national leprosarium was opened in Carvel, Louisiana. So at that time in 1921, anyone diagnosed with leprosy around the country was shipped down to mosquito hot land of Louisiana. Leprosy is a term not used today. It is called Hansen's disease, and using the term leprosy is considered slanderous. Yeah, you just don't do it. It was identified in 1874 as an infectious disease caused by the bacterium, Mycobacterium leprae. And what's interesting, and what really blew me when I learned about this, is that you consider, wow, it's so contagious. 95% of the human population cannot get it. Cannot get it. It is only 5% who have a genetic defect who can actually become vulnerable for the infection, which is why so many people, nurses and doctors working with these people, did not get sick. I mean, Father Damien, as you probably know about, out in Molokai, Hawaii, is a rare case, or someone working with lepers who actually became infected. The first recorded case in Massachusetts was diagnosed in 1825, but it wasn't until 1870 that the second case was reported. And from 1882 to 1920, health officials recorded 44 cases, of which 36 were sent to live on Penikese Island, where 14 are buried. Welcome to Penikese. This is the first picture was Dawn over Penikese, sent to me by Peter Grimma, the botanist, who's in the back row, and I'm happy to see you, and there it is. So that would be Dawn looking through this part of the island. And this is what you can see how, I mean, it's a lousy picture, but there's no trees there. There's only like 2 or 3 trees, and those were planted by Dr. Parker when he was there. And so this is the island. And you can see on the left side, we have the hospital and the 4 rectangles down there. Those were cabins, which each cabin had room for two patients. And the one farther down was a woman's cottage. They were a little separated. And over on the right side, you have the administration building where the doctor lived and all that. So even on this microscopic island, who has it the worst? The people on the west side with the prevailing winds. And this is the monument that's at the cemetery where the 14 are buried, to Dr. and Mrs. Frank Parker for the 15 years of dedication to treating the people there, and the list of the 14 people who are buried there. And that was put up in 1981. Just sort of a preamble poem. The leprosarium is our world. We reign supreme, lords of bracken and terminal moraine. I am the queen, my throne, lichen, crusted granite, cormorant feathers my crown, and you, my knights and ladies in this kingdom by the sea, forget brothers or wives, rend the ties as rabbis cut the fabric of grief, birth pages blank. Crazy or sane in the land of leprosy, bodies dwindle, but not our hearts. Let us invent each other. Chinamen, sing us a song. And what's interesting is that, the 36 patients were sent there. They came literally from around the world. They came from Russia, Greece, China, Japan, the Azores, Italy, I mean, just everywhere, who were living and working in Massachusetts at the time they were diagnosed. So they came in here, they were Christian, they were Jewish, they were Muslim, they were Buddhists, I mean, they were all religions and all spoke different languages, but they had to survive together. And out of the whole bunch, only 2 or 3 literally were insane, which says a lot for how they were treated by the Parkers. So I'm begin with Isabel, and I'm going to begin the poems that are about individual people. I will begin with a brief bio of that person. Isabel Barrows was 27 years old when she was diagnosed. She was Cape Verdean. She was diagnosed April 24th, 1905, and isolated in her home under the care of her husband, Napoleon, until the colony opened on November 18th. She had 2 children at that time, and her children were placed in foster care. She was pregnant at the time she was diagnosed and sent to the island, and gave birth on the island. She named the child after the boarded charity, and in hope that somehow that would help him through life. And at that time, the first year, there's a Dr. Edmonds. Now, I had a soft spot for Edmonds because at the time, he put himself through medical school while working nights as a compositor for the Boston Globe. At the time I was writing this, I was working as a compositor for the Telegram and Gazette. So he puts himself through school, gets a job at Worcester City Hospital where he diagnosed a patient with leprosy. So the city thought, in all that magnanimity, that he should be okay to run this hospital. The isolation killed him. Really, he could not handle it, and he left after the year, and the Parkers came in. So this is Isabel gives birth March 8th, 1906. When my time came, waters rush, belly clunch. Attended Sarah's light fingers blot sweat from my face, walks me up and down. I cry for my husband, Napoleon. Dr. Edmonds hushes me, orders me to push this babe, this child, so weak. I ache and howl, fear my child tainted, sick to stay, or healthy, pulled away to live unheld by your mother's arms. My son, my dear, born well, born scream into this world. I name thee Leonine Lincoln Barrows. What little I can do for you, give you the name of the man in charge of all wards of the state, the chairman of the board of charity. Will he have pity on the child that bears his name? I watch as Sarah cleans you, wraps you swaddling tight. In my arms your clear eyes stare, my face to quick fade. Will someone tell you I loved you? Mother Mary, it's so lonely here. I have seen a picture, those are her children. There's Anthony on the left, who is, it's his daughter, Joanne, who's zooming out there. Thank you, Joanne. I'm so happy you're out there. Who sent me the picture. And in the middle, and the other one, Leo, was the one that was born on the island. And he did not fare well with his life. But the others did okay. And this is her cemetery marker. When I went to the island, I took pictures of all the cemetery markers, which was really what made them real for me. So the youngest patient on the island was Archibald James B. Thomas, and he was 16 years old. Lived in the town of Upton with his mom. The ages went from the youngest of 16 to the eldest, Walton, who was 72 years old. He was born in Barbados, West Indies, of English parents. He immigrated with his mother when he was 9 years old. His father might have had leprosy, as he wasn't allowed to enter this country due to illness. It can stay in the body for many, many years before coming out, so you could have it and not know it for literally decades. Archie was interested in physics, electricity, and the wireless telegraph. He arrived in Penikese March 27, 1909, and died February 17, 1915, at the age of 22 from tuberculosis. And I'm going to read 2 poems that sort of deal with, one is Archie's story, and the other one mentions him. Fire, January 13, 1912. Wind whips from the west and shears to south. Smoke spirals from the upstairs window, follows by points of flame. I run from barn to house, bundle bedridden Marian and her visiting mother, out into the frigid air, try to turn on the water. Faucets swivel to air, pipes frozen. Oh, my curses useless. To release our precious supply, flames run on wind's back, rage and crack the air. An attendant raised the red flag. The kind people of Cuttyhunk send the life-saving service. The men stand shivering in heat, hands itch for water, for hose. My books, 2,500 volumes, seared to ash. Some bits of pages, curled and brittle, turn to smudge on my hands, nothing to make sense. We always feared the drop of a lamp from disease-numb hands, not the chimney fire so common in winter. The Acushnet, wired by our gallant Archie, came from New Bedford too late. Only smoldering ruins remain, charred limbs scar the sky. Not even the wind can blow the stink away. Okay, here we have Archie and his mom, Emma. Emma worked in a factory in Upton making hats. She was a superintendent there. And when Archie was diagnosed and taken away, I mean, you figure the police come, they drag you out, and you're gone. She petitioned the state to send her. She had no other children, and this was her baby. And they denied her. There was a lot of publicity. The people of Upton raised up. They petitioned the Globe and everything, bad press. They finally kicked in and sent Emma to live with her son. Archie. When the fire broke out, everyone running, yelling, grabbing, buckets spilling, I sent a telegraph to a passing ship. The captain sent it on. My little wireless, too weak to go the distance. The Acushnet came from New Bedford. Too late. The administration building gone. Dr. and Mrs. Parker's home. All the records of our existence gone. A newspaper in Boston sent a new set. 2 men from Marconi stayed 3 days, erected 2 poles. Taught me quick. Now I send messages across the ocean where the big war is. Dots and dashes bring in the news, only I understand. Faster than the papers so often delayed. When the governor visited, we spoke about battles, maneuvers. I told him the latest world news. Me, a kid. I told the governor messages stolen from the 10 o'clock news, sent from the station on Cape Cod to the ships at sea. My call letters, IZP, famous. It says so in the Boston paper. And this is Archie's headstone. And I'm just going to go and show you the cabins. These are the cabins where the people lived on the west side of the island. The one with clothes was where Lucy and Isabel lived. They liked to do their own laundry, though Willie Gunli Dip and Yi Choi, the other Chinese guy who did laundry before they were diagnosed, came and did laundry for the island. And that's just one of the nurses, and those are the buildings that were there at the time period. This is the cabins as they were under construction. And these are a few. We have Yi Choi and Isabel and John Rodwick's and Gunli Dip over on the right there. So these are pictures taken of them while they were on the island. And these are people that were working on the island. And this is, when I was there, this was the only building. remaining on the island. After it closed, they went and burnt down everything because they didn't know how, images, the disease was spread. Gunli Dip was the person who did the laundry, and he was 23 years old when he was diagnosed. He came from China. He was one of the first people on the island, and he died December 26, 1920. And he would get paid for doing the laundry, like $2 a week or something, and he would send that money home to his wife and child. Willie folds the sheets. Air still. Sheets hang straight, no billow or luff. Sun white glare. Eyes squint. Summer heat dry. Sheets scent fresh. Willie takes down and folds in linen dance. His wiry arms stretch out and together, cloth folded tightly laid in willow basket. Willie breathes day heat and sheet squares, bends to see black feather fallen on white. Air spin sheets sail someplace far, someplace pushed away. His wife's hair, wings spread on pillow, their son curled into her. Their breath breathes gentle on this day, sun and sheets. That night, Willie places the feather on his pillow, dreams his wife stretched against him, dreams their legs, arms all a tangle, dreams her hair scent, body musk. He breathes deep. In his dream, he sighs and moans, wakes with pillow clenched, belly clutch, aches, arms, shoulders, neck, heart. And these are on. So this is where the fire would have been to heat the water to wash the sheets. There were two patients who both came from Russia, and they were both Jewish. They were buried side by side in a part of the cemetery, separated for their rest and consecrated by a visiting rabbi. So I'm just going to read one of those, which is Morris. And some of these lines came from the doctor's notes that I read. This poem, unlike all the other poems, I knew I had to write about Morris. Morris was important to me, and I couldn't get a handle on it, and I laid down, and I'm sort of in that drifty, half-sleep mode, and his voice, he's doing this letter to his wife. So I had to get up and write it down, and it is pretty much exactly as I heard it. February 23, 1908. My dearest Esther, why is it you don't write? This disease not curse enough. You curse me with silence. Not enough. I live without your dear face. And our children? Good-natured Rachel? She must be great help to you and Clara. Her hair still red of spun gold. Must be young men calling. Why don't you tell me? You are getting by? Jaime is helping? Such a brother. He should put a foot in front of the other and get someplace. Esther, I can't bear this. Every day the mailboat comes from New Bedford. Mrs. Parker hands out the letters, none for me. I can't help the tears. This illness not my doing? In sickness and health we married. Only a letter. All I ask, to see in words what I can't imagine. My boys, what had become of my boys? Mendel in school? Harry a job with a printing press? And Nathan, the quiet one, still buried in books? He studies hard for his bar mitzvah. Over and over, I shut my eyes, see you and the girl screaming. Clara hiding her face in her scarf, teeth chattering cold in July. Already you killed me? You say Kaddish? Like candles? Oh, Esther, I am still here breathing, dreaming your dark eyes. Please, I beg you, take pen to paper. Send me your blessings so I may caress your words, smell the ink, touch the flap where your tongue licked the seal. Is this too much to ask? Your still loving husband, Morris. She never did. Well, they had good times there. They loved to sing. They loved to have gardens. Some of the guys liked to fish. There's a couple lines here that came from the doctor's medical records. I have laid aside business and gone fishing. Isaac Walton. Under the mackerel sky, they angle for fish and tails. The new boat enjoyed by the male patients. Dr. Parker writes September 1917. He meets the men at the dock, helps haul in the boat, cherishes their beaming countenances. Manuel holds his hands chest width. Hyman snickers, holds thumb to forefinger. Stories grow longer each day. Good days are followed by chowders, rich in cream and potatoes. The fishermen make trophies, prove they are disciples of Isaac Walton, plan for their next time with rod and reel. Mornings they sniff the wind, feel the breeze, eye the sky, itch to get off land, just like regular blokes. Hankering a day between cloud and wave, hooking scraps of skate or mackerel to tease the sly fish to gulp, bait and hook. Pull hard and harder still till gasp and flip, fish lie in the boat's belly. Tired and aching, the men return to shore, much pleased with themselves, catch or not. In 1912, the island got a generator, and for the first time, they had electricity. So suddenly all these oil lamps that were so dangerous could be replaced by electric lamps and refrigeration. First ice, 1912. We toss the cold slivers like children. We catch and throw, chant, ice, glorious ice. Hold to hot skin, summer day, scorch of sun, slippery slice of clear. We laugh, hot spiced with cold. Mrs. Parker makes lemonade, ice in every glass. Chinaman holds the sky, peers through crystal fractured light. Ice we sing, as Lucy slips chad down her bodice. Oh, naughty Lucy, we shout and do it ourselves. Our cotton shirts and dresses cling dark. We don't care. While Solomon gives thanks to his Lord for not so simple gifts. So we have here Lucy on the left and Gunli Dip, the Chinaman in the middle, who's also called Chinaman or Willie. And Isabel is on the right. The folks are fond of singing. Room to room, Isabel's high mingles with Lucy's alto. They sing the days. Phonographs, we're out, we're down, high notes to lows. A lady in New Bedford sends a Columbia Graffanola. A business house chips in $10 for more records. Joseph exaggerates, asleep in the deep, growling the bass notes drawn as long as breath. The minstrel boy forever goes to war. In Rock of Ages, comforts, day after day. Christmas, 1916, members of New Bedford DAR send a new 50-cent piece for each patient. Show they are not forgotten. Mrs. Child Tabor sends a parlor organ. They pick out songs note by slow note. A moving picture machine stuns them to silence, then giggles and guffaws as mustached villains trap damsels to be rescued by clean-shaven heroes arriving always on time. On time. Mrs. Parker has Friday afternoons, readings, and talks to cheer them up. Dr. Parker writes in his monthly report, Portuguese and Turkish games and checkers favorite pastimes. A billiard table provides clacking undertones as some of the men shuffle cards. Lucy and Isabel were great friends. So even in times when you hardly know anybody, you can make a friend. And it was very important to them. Lucy didn't live a lot longer than Isabel. Lucy Peterson was 27 years old when diagnosed. She was Latvian born and worked as a domestic in Concord and Brookline, Massachusetts. She arrived at Penikese July 24, 1907. Dr. Parker described her as pretty and well-formed. She helped clean and acted as nurse and interpreter. In 1913, she was described as comely, but with a lion's face, by Dr. Hennig. Her nose had flattened. She died suddenly November 15, 1916, suffocated by growth in her throat. Dr. Hennig came from Harvard Medical School and was there for a year or 2 years doing research. And he didn't give a damn about the people. He only cared about research. Whereas the Parkers tried to give these people a really good life. And Dr. Parker did research. He tried his best to try looking for a cure, but he treated them as humans. I spoke until I couldn't push ear to sound. Twisted Russian into English for Dr. Parker, English into Russian for Morris, moaning, forsaken, by wife, by children, by God. His language slipped from speech to cry. I fed him morsels in his mother's tongue. Mother, what went wrong? I did well, saved a penny and another, tucked into a hanky, days long scouring another woman's house, pressing the clothes, the linens, cold, hot attic room. The master's son looked at me. Here I clean and nurse, useful and cared for, but their eyes turn away. Lioness, they whisper, my nose flat. I tend the pride by cage by the sea. Growth in my throat, I gasp for air. Mrs. Parker makes teas and broths, comforts me, tries the best she can. They both do. They do. Walton, he had an incredible life. He was 72 years old when he arrived on the island, 1915. He died 1 month later, January 23, 1916. He was born in 1843 in Bourne, Massachusetts. I'll tell you about Gold Boys. Everyone going west, lickety-split, trains loaded with us dumb fools, gold dust in our eyes. 4 years I shoveled mountains through sluices and screen. Sometimes the water spilled down so cold, my fingers seemed lost. Did I tell you about South America? Snakes and insects could eat you alive or dead. So much green, as though the Lord poured a monstrous bucket of paint on that part of the world and ran out for the rest of it. Me hired on to help a fella ship plants to England. We cut through jungles, leaves I could hide under, and heat, no way to keep dry. I did factory work too, and let me tell you, that was the worst. Right here in Massachusetts, over in Brockton, hundreds, maybe thousands, packed in a brick building, the dust and noise, something fierce. Worked dawn to dark, 6 days, making shoes, and never a pair that fit me. Some Sundays dead to the world. There was no life. 4 years and I thought I'd go mad. Hot-footed out west again. Signed on to a coastal ship. Hauled fish and mail up and down. The food nothing to be thankful for. Oh, but the wind and sea air to my liking. Until a letter from my brother when we put into San Francisco says, Mom, real sick, wants to see me. I figure, time to settle anyway. Came home to where I started, in Bourne. You can almost see it from here, just over there, to the north of the canal. Found me a good woman. We had 1 child, a real pretty little thing, grown now. 17 years I worked as a shopkeep, an easy life, and later worked for the Gypsy Moss Commission, blowing stinky stuff up in the trees until I called it quits. All the aches catching up with me. Went to that big Boston hospital, and before I could turn about, I'm here. Leprosy. Oh, don't that beat all? You know this picture, right? Dr. Parker paints a flag. Dr. Parker purses his lips, dips his paintbrush into gold colors in the Indian, holding a long bow in one hand, arrow in the other. Mumbles about the frugality of the state, denying his request for a flag. Why shouldn't his hospital have a flag? Does the Commonwealth of Massachusetts not own it? He spends $1 out of pocket for material and paint, takes a deep breath, and begins to delineate the arm holding a long sword rising above the shield. Ever so carefully letters in the motto on the blue banner floating beneath the shield, Anse petit placidum sub liberate quietum. By the sword he seeks peaceful haven in freedom. Iowa walks by the window with his green and gold parrot cackling hilariously together. The bird's yellow, a match for Dr. Parker's Indian. Dr. Parker snickers about putting a sword to the niggardly dastards of the Board of Charity, haggling over every expense of the peaceful haven Dr. Parker tries to create for his patients doomed here until death's freedom calls. So here he is, with paint-stained hands trying to wash out the indigo blob falling on the white field of his flag, closes his eyes, seeks placid repose. Mrs. Parker finds him lightly snoring, brush fallen from his hand. Marion Parker was just such an incredible woman that I felt I had to write a poem where she wasn't perfect. She was, when the doctor was asked to come to the island, and he asked her, she says, of course. You can help these people. We can make a better life for them. She was a socialite. She wrote newspaper articles under her maiden name. She was a cool woman, you know? And she said, I'm going to give all of this up and go live in this tiny, godforsaken island. I mean, how cool a person is that? Seamstress. Mrs. Parker pulls thread through beeswax as her mother taught her. Still, thread snakes into snarls with button wobbling in place, pinned between button and cloth. A shank, her mother advised her. allowed space to pull button through hole. When Lucy thins to a sliver, Mrs. Parker attempts alterations of 7 gored skirts and heavy serge. Does one remove a gourd? Slice existing seams and trim? How does the waist detach? Lippenkopf's Home Manual Clothing for Women gives clues. I know I read this book. Begins with remove the skirt. Mrs. Parker shakes her head, knowing this much. Seam lines should be at right angles to the waistline, sloping slightly toward the front as to give appearance of straight lines. There's no diagram for this. Where is the front? What is right angle to waist, plumb line to floor? The skirt is in her hands. In fitting, it is sometimes necessary to take more from one gourd than another. From the sides, front, back. When possible, pin without ripping seam. When possible, keep a steady head while fabric unravels, thimble rolls into a corner, pins scatter across the floor. When possible, bite tongue on wrong words. If need be, mutter under breath, make sure patients do not hear. She makes tucks in waistband, tucks bulge thick. Needle sticks, snaps, eye dangles on thread, needle replaced, toe, heel on treadle, slow rock. At the end of the day, she packs her sewing box, ignores unsightly puckers, helps Lucy try on her skirt. Lucy swirls and bows. Mrs. Parker breathes relief. And this is another one in Mrs. Parker's voice. Mrs. Parker reflects on death and healing. Inside the green picket fence, moccas grow like weeds. One year, we made 7 trips with a horse-drawn wagon, slow walk and scuffle. When we laid Lucy next to Isabel, November 5, 1916, I could not fight the tears. The line of wood markers carved with initials and numbers wavered in my sight. I will continue combing the island for flowers to tuck into old jars, as Isabel did when she could. Frank reads all the journals, searching for cures, asks that bedding be changed more frequently. Willie keeps his tubs filled in boiling laundress linen most every day. I consult the old herbals, seeking tinctures, plant red clover, pennyroyal, burdock grows wild, order golden seal from a catalog. I boil strange concoctions sweetened with honey, coax into throats constricted with sores. Frank approves, blending old world with new. Leave no stone unturned, he tells me. I read scripture from one herbalist. My people are destroyed from lack of knowledge. Hosea 4:6. Every trip off island we scour bookstores, herbariums, medical libraries. At times we pray. And here's a better picture of them. He was a handsome man. And just read the last poem in the book. I mean, this to me was the real heartbreaker in the book, this poem. The doctor becomes an outcast. Frank and Marion Parker stand at the stern, looking back at the island shrinking to gone. They mentally tally their savings. Dr. Parker's last month of employment unpaid. The Right Honorable Governor Cox opposes granting Parker a pension. The newspapers protest the state's bad treatment of the doctor who gave 15 years treating the feared, risking contagion, all the hours hidden in his lab, inoculating Japanese dancing mice, seeking a cure to halt the spread, bacterium, microbacterium, lepre. But the governor vows to cast the doctor out without thanks of remuneration. Frank and Marion board a train heading west, away from thankless Massachusetts. In Montana, the Daily Missoulian welcomes the famous doctor as they join their son, the expert in tick control. They try to solve their anger, wound salt seasoned, yet dream of crashing seas, wake to damp sheets, a ghostly tang of iodine, and a babble of lost voices. And I end with this one and this one. It's Jewish tradition when you visit a cemetery, you leave a pebble on the gravestone. And this shows that you have been visited. So I saw this when I was there. I thought, how perfect. The pebbles, I have been there. I thought, I'm giving you. And just for curiosity, what it does, it dissolves the bone and shrinks down, which is why you have what's called mitten hands, and does that to your toes as well. And your nerves don't feel anything, which is why people often get infections and have, like diabetes, a very similar thing, whereas you don't feel and you lose all senses. You just go, okay, thank you all for coming. Thank you.